Health has always been number one. As soon as I flipped that and started going to bed really early, everything changed. So much more energy through the day and being able to deal with issues that come up because I'm always really well rested. I love boxing, I love Muay Thai. The thing is, when you're in that moment, you actually can't think of anything else. So I see that almost as a meditation. It's a bit of a baptism by fire. I thought, if I can do this, I can do anything. And finally I said, you know what, I can just do this myself. And I just started a business. So people who are highly stressed, their brain actually switches off. The one thing that I have found though, you never can get anyone to do anything unless they want to.
Welcome back. Today we have member number 11 from Lockeroom. So we're actually just about to hit 2 years knowing you, which has been incredibly fun, and you've added a lot to the community. But we want to talk today a bit more about you and your business and what you do outside of the gym. So Lauren, why don't you introduce yourself and tell us what you do professionally?
Right, thanks Raf, and thanks so much for having me here. So my business is called Leading Edge Global. So what we do is business transformation. So most companies will come to us because they're looking to grow, but they're stifled by either their systems or processes or people, generally all three. And so we'll come in, we'll do an assessment of the organization, where all the challenge issues are. We'll put together a plan to transform, and then we'll run the project. But these projects aren't small. They usually sort of minimum 9 months, often can go 18 months. But the type of projects that we do, a business wouldn't do them very often. It really is how we pull in core systems like ERPs or CRMs, things that a business might run on, and we actually go in there and replace everything what they do. The thing is, you can't just do a system. You have to think of how people work, you have to think about the culture, you have to think about every single process. So they're quite big and complex. But
would that include, the biggest one everyone talked about was in COVID, they're like, I'm going from in-person everything to Zoom meetings for everything?
Absolutely, that would have been a sort of a transformation, but I think it's really more taking it even to that next level where you're also selling everything online. So you might have had some shops, but now you're selling online, so we have to make sure we've got all of our processes from end to end to be able to do that fulfillment.
Yeah, and I'd imagine companies would care a lot about, because if you're coming in, they care about who you are because you're demonstrating it. So how did you build up to that point? What did you do before?
Yeah, so my background originally was project management of software development projects, which was, I did it for a few years. I found it a little bit boring. What I really enjoyed was the people who were impacted by that software. So all the users, and I was working in big banks at the time, and I was just really loving working with stakeholders. So it turns out there's a career called change management. Some people didn't know about it, but it's a thing, which basically runs alongside the project, and it helps the users to adopt and utilize whatever these software changes are. So I somehow got into that as a career. I was at CBA at the time, and they put me on this massive program, big transformation work, and I loved it. Absolutely, just fell in love with it. So as soon as I finished that, I actually moved into consulting. It was kind of one of those, it's a bit of a baptism by fire. I thought, if I can do this, I can do anything. So I started consulting.
So you went straight to your own consulting?
No, I started working through small consulting businesses. And what I found was I would go in there and I'd help grow their business. And I'd say, oh, do you think I can get maybe some commission for that? And it was such a pain. And finally I said, you know what, I can just do this myself. And I just started a business. I didn't really think too much about it. I just kind of opened and shop and off we went.
It's probably also why Lockeroom has been such a good fit for you, because I imagine you're the type of person that just feeds off other people's energy rather than being by yourself, doing stuff by alone. Absolutely.
No, I need to be around other people to perform.
Yeah. Okay, so you're obviously, you go on site for this stuff. I'm sure you do lots of work remotely as well. So give us an idea of what your day looks like. Obviously, health and fitness is important to you. You come into Lockeroom most days, from as much as you want to share, from when you wake up to when you go to bed. Give us a typical day or a great day.
Sure. So every day starts 5:30 a.m. Get up, and before you actually realize that we're up, off to the gym. So I go to the 6:15 Lockeroom session. To be fair, it's not really my ideal day. I would rather actually go sort of lunchtime or 3 in the afternoon. But for a few reasons, I actually choose the early morning. First of all, you're up, you're done. If you get it done, if anything goes wrong in the rest of the day, you still got your gym session done. So you can put a tick in that box.
And trainers know that the people that come at 6:15, it's the most consistent session there is.
Absolutely. The other thing is, so my husband is also a Lockeroom member, and we both own businesses. And sometimes if we didn't go to the gym together, we might not see each other at all during the day. So it's a little bit of quality time in the car on the way there and the car on the way back. So that's been really good as well. So once we get that all done.
Yeah, so it's an hour in the gym?
Hour in the gym.
Yep.
We do our weights, we do our cardio. What I do love about Lockeroom is having that flexibility of the type of workout.
Yep.
So I've chosen to do more calisthenics and gymnastics at the moment, and so we've been able to do that as part of my routine, which has been really awesome.
Yeah.
So we do that, then go home, and then the day really starts. We've got kids, so I've got to get those guys off to school.
How old are your kids?
15 and 17.
Yeah, okay, well.
Yeah.
So you've done this for a while. Yeah.
Oh yeah, a long time. Yeah, I'm a master of the juggle.
Yeah.
So getting them to school and then getting off and doing what my work day looks like, and that can look with consulting. It can look very different, every day. So some days would be like sales days when we would be going out and I'd be meeting potential clients or customers, and then some days we actually work on site at clients, and so that could be a full day or a half a day on site helping to do whatever we do. So,
and is there anything you do on the work days that is like for your energy or for your health in some way?
Yeah, so I'm not really a coffee drinker.
Yep.
I do have a little bit of caffeine in the morning through some green tea.
Yep.
But I try to do that just to keep my energy levels stable.
Yeah.
So I think that's really
because you've got to do stuff all day.
All day, every day. So that's number one. I also eat really healthy. One thing is I actually can't have gluten, unfortunately.
Yep.
So what it almost does is forces me to eat really healthy.
Yep.
But I make sure to prioritize having protein and vegetables through every single meal. So also keeping that blood sugar really stable through the day.
And without being too specific, do you just go out and buy food when you're out? Do you like prepare in any way?
I try. My best days is when I meal prep.
Yep.
So, or at least I know exactly what I'm gonna do. So if I know I'm out and about, I have a little lunch bag that I carry around. I don't have my a loaf of gluten-free toast. I maybe have cottage cheese or chicken and vegetables, and I'll make myself a sandwich or what have you. But having that meal prep is absolutely ideal. I found over the Christmas season, it's kind of gone a little bit out the window, and you do start to feel it. Absolutely.
Yeah, like we always tell clients, which is like everyone's gonna be different, right? Some people buy the food, some people bring it, but everyone's got to put some thought into it. But I just feel like turning up with no clue what you're going to put into your body that day, it's just so unlikely consistently you're going to take in what you should take in and then be your best every single day.
Absolutely. And the thing is, I don't mind actually eating the same thing every day. I've always been like that.
Yeah.
So, I think some people get quite bored, but that's all right. I'll just keep doing the same thing over and over. So so then we get home. Kids, again, we're driving them to after-school activities or whatever it is, and then...
That is a full-on day.
It's a huge day. So I have tried to get into bed by about 8 o'clock.
Oh, wow. Yeah. So sleep's important.
Unbelievable. So sleep is absolutely number one. So I'm asleep by, say, 9, but I'll try and start my bedtime routine by 8-ish.
Cool.
And that has been... As soon as I flipped that, I started to go to bed really early, everything changed. Just so much more energy through the day and being able to kind of have that resilience to be able to deal with issues that come up because I'm always really well rested.
Yeah. One truth of trainers is that pretty much we're trusting people, but when people tell us how much they sleep, we never believe it. So it's always like, how'd you sleep? Good. And it's never good. And I usually take off 30% of what people say. So then people say, I get 8 hours. I'm like, okay, probably 5 or 6, particularly business owners.
Yeah.
It's always lies when talking to their trainer. You were one person, because we actually tracked it, that it was exactly what you said. Yeah. It was 8-9 hours every single night.
That's right. Always number one, sleep in the gym. Very proud of that.
Yeah, and it just, I think we notice it in the gym because it gives you that consistency. Yeah. And the people that are inconsistent, it's like, it's a great day, it's a great day, it's a really bad day, it's another pretty bad day, and then it's an average day.
Yeah, the other thing that I've done in my routine is I've actually stopped drinking during the week.
Drinking alcohol?
Alcohol.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I think, at one point because I was wearing the Whoop band and I worked out that 1 glass of wine would actually tip me over. 2 would be just terrible. I would go straight into the red. I would have terrible recovery.
And could you feel it the next day?
Absolutely. Well, yes and no. I think it's just that little bit of kind of lower energy. But because I could see it on the Whoop, I thought, you know what, this isn't good. Let me cut out alcohol during the week. And everything became so much more productive. And I don't know if it's me not processing alcohol or maybe it's for everybody. But I think that's been a really real benefit for me.
Well, some people do say that, maybe what worked for them in their 20s, maybe more alcohol during the week, doesn't quite work in their 30s and definitely doesn't work in their 40s. That's something you found, that there's been things like alcohol that you've had to, hey, I can't get away with this anymore?
Absolutely. Yeah, no. And I mean, look, to be fair, I wasn't a huge drinker to begin with,
Yeah.
but if you want to go out after work and have a glass of wine with dinner, I just had to say no to that.
And do you have to put boundaries in with clients and that type of thing? Because I imagine that not everyone's on the same page.
Yeah, I think we've gotten to a point where clients are really happy to have a coffee meeting.
Yeah.
I think I'm finding it used to be years ago that everyone was happy to do after work things. But I think I'm finding now that more people actually have families and they have kids and they want to get home. So, doing an after work thing, most people actually start complaining about it. I mean, there was some dinner that was booked for like 8 p.m. and I've just gone,
No way. Yeah. Well, that's the start of your bedtime.
I just have to say no to things.
Yeah.
Or just say, can we change this to a more appropriate time for me? I need my sleep.
And I guess it's one of those things that once you actually start doing it, people aren't shocked and terrored, and they get over it.
That's right. Yeah.
Okay. So sleep, it sounds like, is probably the thing you protect the most.
And food.
And then, controlling what you eat in some form.
Yeah.
This is probably a side question, but do you feel like you're a very controlling person? Like you like to have those things always in place? Or there's other areas of your life you're like, oh, I'm relaxed, I'm easy?
Oh, that's a really good question. I think I am a bit of a control freak. I've always said that the reason I like having a Samsung is because I can actually control exactly what's on my screen.
Yeah.
I think there's some areas. I think one thing, as I have gotten older, I have relaxed on a whole bunch of stuff.
Give me an example.
Look, I think things around the house and things don't need to be perfect anymore.
Things
right?
that just don't matter that much.
Things that don't matter, and so you prioritize that. Whereas when I look at work, I still have everything that we deliver has to be top notch. Like there's something there has to be that perfectionism because that's my profession.
Yeah.
Right. Whereas at home, we can kind of get away with a little bit more now these days.
Okay.
I don't get so upset when the kids don't take their shoes upstairs.
Yeah, I guess after now they're 16, 18, they're probably just beating it out of you.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, you give up at a certain point.
Up.
Okay, so I want to talk a bit about priorities. We see all sorts of priorities, people that come into the gym. Obviously, we work in health and fitness, so the business has to be a high priority, but fitness has to be a high priority because it's obviously like a bit of the business card and no one wants an overweight trainer. But for other business owners, we find that it's often way down in the priority list. So there's obviously business, they've usually got family, which is important. They've definitely got social life, and some even have hobbies in there as well, above their health and fitness. Do you think about where it sits in your priorities, or do you just find it naturally rises somewhere?
Health has always been number one. So I started weight training, I think, in my 20s.
Yeah, wow.
I was during uni, and I had done, in the States, they call it the freshman 15.
Yep.
Definitely.
So you gained a bit of weight.
Definitely jumped on that bandwagon.
Yeah.
And I realized I had to do something. And luckily, one of my, somebody I met at uni, he was really into health and fitness, and he actually taught me how to, start exercising and what to eat.
Yeah.
So that was a really good start. And then when I moved to Australia, I joined a gym, and I've got a personal
So you
trainer.
lost that, do you find you lost the weight, like you had initial success?
I did.
Yeah.
I mean, mind you, it wasn't the healthiest way. We did the no carb thing.
Yep.
So, but it worked.
It worked, yeah.
It worked. And there was a formal coming up I needed to.
Yeah.
So clearly that wasn't a long-term option, but it worked. But I realized that you can start manipulating your body in different ways through food and through exercise. So, so I moved to Australia and I got my first personal trainer.
Cool. And how old were you when you got the trainer?
I was about 20.
Yeah, wow. So that's quite rare.
Yeah. Yeah.
I assume it was probably a pretty big financial investment for you as well.
It was, but it was worthwhile for me.
Yep.
I mean, I was working while I was studying here.
Yep.
I was here for a year, so I worked on the weekends and at the pub and got tips. I was kind of, this is all right.
Yeah.
So I thought may as well, and it worked. It was fantastic. I felt good.
Cool.
Started to look good. I gone, this is where I want to be, and so I've just prioritized it. What was really interesting was, after my first baby, I had started to see a trainer and started to run, and I lost the weight.
Cool.
And it was really good.
Yeah.
And I started to feel really healthy. And what was really cool was, before my second baby, I was
and
actually...
How big was the gap?
Only about 20 months.
Okay.
Yeah, it's pretty small. But I was still exercising. So I was actually running all the way till I was 7 months pregnant.
Wow.
It got to the point where literally just my stomach was too heavy. I just couldn't balance with it anymore. But I continued to walk and I continued to lift weights all the way through my second pregnancy, and I recovered like this.
Wow.
Yeah,
Better than the
really,
first one.
so much better, so much quicker. And so that was a really interesting. So
Yeah.
all these
You almost
trial
like did a
and
test.
error.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was trial and error kind of through all of this. So after that, I've had trainers ever since. Either one day a week, 2 days a week. I've always had a gym membership.
Did you have any issues coming back from the 2 babies?
No.
Cool. You got back in shape a few years after, and then you just kept it up.
Absolutely.
And do you think it's because you were quite fit going into it?
Yeah, absolutely. Particularly with the second one.
Yeah.
Made it absolutely so much better. And look, I went back to work when my babies were quite young as well. That was just something I really wanted to do. I'm not really cut out to be a housewife. So that was really good. So it also kept me active, you know, keep me walking around and moving. So.
Okay, great. So then, and have you ever had a period that you have fallen off the wagon in this time?
Oh, that's a good question. Let me think.
Or a time you just got bored and like demotivated with it?
Yeah, look, I think we probably all have little gaps.
Yeah.
But really, I don't think so as much. Look, we have a boat, so we spend a lot of time in bikinis in summer.
Yeah.
You kind of have that
That's
motivation.
your accountability every
That's
year.
right, that's my accountability. We're there every single summer. But what I've actually done the last 2 years, actually with Lockeroom, is do a summer shred.
Oh, yeah.
Which has been really cool because you kind of go, okay, where do I want to get to for summer? So I think, it can be a little bit easy to not be quite so stubborn about it. But I find that just keeping on track just keeps it so much easier than having to pick it back up again.
Yeah, yeah. So that's all you need is a boat.
A boat, yeah.
One boat,
it's really simple.
and that is the secret to fitness.
Yeah,
the
but
secret to
I
accountability.
think the other thing is though also continually changing the milestones and the targets.
Yeah.
So, rather than just doing weights all the time,
Yeah.
I'll change it to something like a calisthenics.
Yeah,
Or
which is
just
like
something-
body weight training, pull-ups, handstands.
all of that.
Yeah.
Or, and I'll just change it to different things, or I'll set different goals at different times, because that will actually keep it fun and exciting.
And after all you've learned, like what's good for your body and what works, is there anything that you regret or like, hey, if I had my 20 years of health and fitness again, I would have started this earlier or done this differently?
I don't think I would have done too much differently. I think the one thing was years ago, and it's probably like, I don't know, 10 years ago, I actually had a back injury. I picked up like a really heavy suitcase and I took my
So it
back
wasn't in the
out.
gym?
No, it wasn't in the gym. And since then, I've been working around it. I've gotten to the point now where it's completely manageable. But for years, I couldn't do things like squats or deadlifts. It was just really bad. Luckily, I had trainers before Lockeroom and during who understand how to work around that. But I think the one thing I probably didn't do early enough was pick up something like Pilates.
Oh, yeah.
That actually core work that has actually protected my back. So I think over the years, I've been able to educate myself. Like the internet's an amazing place. You can find a lot of information. And I think it was more, I would push myself really hard and continue to do like the squats and the deadlifts when I was kind of grinning and bearing it, when really I actually didn't need to do that. And there's also alternatives out there. I don't need to squat anymore with back squats.
Do you think that some people just focus too much on the things that are going to make them maybe look better, or like running to lose weight, and a bit less on things like Pilates, which are a bit more like for their general well-being and how they're going to feel, maybe not as much how they're going to look?
I think there is a bit of people not necessarily, choosing what they want because of how they want to look. But I also think there's something in it around education. Is that if you don't know that something will have a beneficial outcome, you might not do it. Right, and so things like walking, I find walking so boring. Like I really passionately hate going for a walk. Yeah. But I also know how good it is for me, for weight management, for movement, for keeping all your muscles going. I know how good it is. So I'll sometimes go for a walk under duress, but I'll go. And so I think that's part of it, is that I'll do things because I know it's the right thing to do, but other times it's because I know what's going to do for me.
Yeah, I think what's great now is that I think a lot more of different types of fitness have come to the surface as being good for you and popular. Whereas before, it was only what was marketed. So pretty much nobody marketed walking because no one made money off walking until like Fitbits came out. And then everyone was like 10,000 steps, this, because like someone was actually making money off walking. And before it was just like all, step-aside classes and different types of gym memberships. Whereas nowadays it's like, you can generally find pretty good information on the internet, which is not just biased by whatever people are trying to sell.
Yeah, but I think, there is some danger in that, in where the marketing dollars,
Yeah.
like you look at the CrossFit gyms and the
Yeah.
F45s, and I think when I was younger, I used to do that sort of style exercise, and it was great. My body could handle it. But as we've gotten older,
Yeah.
kind of go, should we really be lifting heavy weights really quickly and a lot of it?
Yeah.
Is that really going to be good for me? So I think, their marketing is fantastic. Is it the right choice for everybody? I'm not sure.
Do you think there's a lack of fitness options being marketed to people that are 40 plus that still want to get in great shape? They've got 30 years of fitness ahead of them, but they're not 21 anymore.
I think it depends on maybe, you get served the ads based on your lifestyle and
Yeah.
what you do. So, I think some things come through, like the Pelotons, and I think that there are certainly safer options for
Yeah.
older people. I don't know if that's where all the marketing money is being spent, because you're right, I haven't seen a huge amount of that.
Yeah, it just seems underserviced.
Yeah.
And I think you like exactly what you said, which is that you can't, even though it looks fun, some of those options, they're just not the best thing for you. You know? Particularly if you've got a few of the little injuries that you've picked up, like the back or something like that over the years, and then you come to it. Okay, so I want to talk about people when they get towards the end of their career. So I'm sure you work a lot with them. It's not you yet, but one day it'll be all of us. And what makes people quit, or what makes people retire? So obviously a lot of these people, particularly people that enjoy the work they do, business owners, people that are into it, they initially enjoy it. And then there comes a point where they want to retire. Is it because they have lost interest? Is it because they've got bored? Or do you think their health deteriorating often comes before those factors?
I had a chat with someone. I was actually at a party the other night, and he had actually just retired.
Yeah.
So I just asked him the exact same question.
Yeah.
And, from his perspective, I think he was just over it. I think you do the same thing over and over and over
Yeah.
again in your career. And as you get older, you very much get this been there, done that. For me, what I love about what I do is I'm constantly learning.
Yeah.
I'm always doing something different, and I'm always searching out projects where I haven't done it or seen it before, so I can learn.
Yeah.
I think sometimes people get to their career and you kind of go, is there anything more that I can offer? Is there
Yeah.
anything new to do? And, as far as health goes, yeah, I'm sure that you could probably have that attitude if you're healthier, and it possibly is, they kind of go, I'm done, I'm
Yeah.
tired, that's enough. But I think if there's enough in it that will keep you occupied, keep you excited, people will continue to work into much later years.
What about stress? I always think stress is kind of like athletes retire because of too many injuries.
Yeah.
Do you think in the workplace, I think you don't really get injuries as much, but stresses do build up. Do you think that is a factor, or and is there anything you ever recommend in terms of just stress management, or you just do yourself?
Yeah, absolutely. So stress is a huge factor, and it's a huge factor in productivity. So people who are highly stressed, their brain actually switches off, and you can't actually come up with creative solutions and do your job well if you're highly stressed. So I think it's so important to not only take breaks, like having a week or two off as a holiday. I think it's really important to manage stress regularly, so it doesn't build up like that.
Yeah.
And I think things like taking walks or making sure you're looking after your sleep and taking care of your health, all of that builds resilience and being able to look after and reduce your stress on a regular basis, so you don't actually get there. There will always be high stress times, particularly for business owners, but I think it's just so important to kind of take a mirror to yourself and say, how can I actually break this down and look after myself a bit better? Because the stress will affect every aspect of your life, including your health.
Yeah, and I think that people find exercise so useful when it comes to stress. And it's not like, as I said, I have a gym, but we hear that so much is how much help. Obviously, it's in the research that it helps, but also you just get so many anecdotes of it helps a lot in the field. Do you think there's a particular type of exercise that helps the most? I know some people are like, boxing because you hit the bag or this, or do you think it's just what people enjoy is going to help?
I think it's whatever you enjoy will help.
Yeah.
For me, I love boxing, I love Muay Thai, just going really hard.
Yeah.
That to me is great. I need that in order to kind of burn off that stress. The thing is, when you're in that moment, you actually can't think of anything else. So I see that almost as a meditation, right? Because the only thing you can think of are those pads, right? So to me, that's great. I also know that weightlifting is important for me for overall health benefits. So I'll do that as well. But yeah, I do prefer the
I think exactly. And I think people don't realize that you need a combination, right? Some people are like, man, the best thing for me is running out in nature. And I'm like, okay, we definitely need to keep that up, right? Because it's so good for your stress. But maybe you need to incorporate some other things that don't give you the same stress relief, but are good for some other reasons. But don't throw out the stuff that was good for your stress relief, right? Because it's still important.
Exactly. Yeah.
And like you said, I think that I had never really done any boxing before, but what I have seen is this, exactly what you said. Because of its like dynamic with another person, and it forces you to be in the moment. It's a little bit like surfing.
Yes,
surfing's
exactly.
so
Your whole
good.
Entire body and being has to be there. The minute you check out, bam,
Yeah.
you're gonna fall over.
And it's like a little bit different every time.
Yeah.
Every wave's a little bit different, and like every kind of combination's a tiny bit different.
Yeah.
You can't really be an autopilot.
No, that's right.
Maybe Floyd Mayweather can be an autopilot, but most of us can't. And you do, just because on the boxing topic, how long have you done like martial arts for? Because that is pretty rare, I'd say, in the kind of business world, people doing that.
Yeah, so I started doing Muay Thai, must have been about 7 years ago. So what had happened was my daughter, who at the time was 8 years old, said that she wanted to do boxing, which is, again, highly unusual.
Yeah.
But I mentioned it to someone at one of my client sites, and they said, oh, there's a women's Muay Thai gym.
Cool.
You should join. So I called them. They said, look, she can come as long as you're with her for like liability. And at the time, I had actually really injured my wrists. I had been doing a lot of pole dancing and a lot of gymnastics. My wrists were cooked. So I said I could come to her, I'll join her, but I can't punch, which is a very strange thing to do in a
for
Muay Thai
boxing.
class.
Yeah.
So, but because it was Muay Thai, you can kick, and you can use your knees, and you can use your elbows. And so I was able to actually get an incredible workout without punching.
Yeah.
And over the course of like the next 6 to 9 months, my wrists actually healed up. And I started doing it more and enjoying it more. And so, I just stuck with it. So when I joined Lockeroom and realized that I could actually still do that without being part of a Muay Thai gym, I was hooked.
Yeah, awesome.
So I've been able to keep it up. And because it's also one-on-one, like my skill level has just absolutely increased as well.
Yeah, amazing. Yeah, it's just something that's so different
to
the rest of your life. It's like kicking someone,
It feels so good.
Okay, so last question today is I want to just ask around what you think, what's really good right now for companies to try and get more health and fitness into their culture, maybe also where they go about it wrong, if you see any of that, and then what do you think is coming in the future for companies? Because obviously the demand for this is only increasing and the awareness is only increasing.
Yeah, sure. So I think, having a healthy culture is absolutely so important because as we've talked about, keeping people's stress level down is so important. And obviously, if you are having happy employees, they'll stay longer.
Yes.
And that's what you want, right?
Yes.
So some of the things that a lot of businesses that I've seen do really well is, first of all, things like, snacks in the office, make sure that it's healthy, make sure you can provide things for them in the office. We used to do fruit boxes. Just something really simple like that goes a long way. One of the things we talk a lot about is benefits. So you don't necessarily need to spend a lot of money on your people to be able to improve their health culture, but things like giving them discounted gym membership or setting them up with kind of activities. I've seen a lot of like soccer groups, but encouraging that. So with actually running programs and an HR department actually saying, what can we do to improve the health? The one thing that I have found though, and this is sort of the core of change management, is you're never going to get anyone to do anything unless they want to. So if you're in a business...
That is the truth.
Right? So if you're in a business and you say, I think we should all start doing yoga, but you've got a bunch of people who don't like yoga, it's just not going to work, right?
Yes.
So it's really important that you actually do a bit of a grassroots campaign there and, say, look, we set up a club or set up a team, whatever, who is the fitness and health. And they will go and speak to people, figure out what will actually work for your business and your people, and then actually you need to fund that. You need to make sure.
And also, it sounds like you also just need options. Absolutely. Because if you do like, hey, kickboxing is great, most people aren't going to want to do kickboxing,
no, that's
right? So you just can't, you need to have a few different options on the table.
Absolutely. And different time as well. I think one of the really difficult things is you get people with families. And so some people can do before work and some people can do after, and sometimes people can only do lunchtime. So, you have to be able to understand when the best time is if you're going to be supporting people through that, like, say, movement activities. Yeah.
And I just think, think about most people's like New Year's resolutions, it's pretty much, I think 80% are to do with their wealth and the health. And the company can really provide a lot of both, right? Because you can make more money at the company, right? Or progress your career. And then if you can provide benefits, you can get them healthier.
Absolutely.
Or get them, give them the impetus to get going. You can't do the push-ups for them, but you can give them the energy. Give them even like a few co-workers to get motivated with.
Yeah.
So you can give a lot of what they want.
And I think you make a good point with the push-ups, for example. When there are these fundraising activities, you've got Movember and you've got all of these things that come up through the year. If you actually purposefully go out and choose the ones that have movement, then you're already instilling that behavior. So I think there was like a men's mental health one where it was a push-up.
Yeah, there was. I think there was Step-sember, and I remember just talking to someone on the weekend, and she's like, "Yeah, I do 20,000 steps." I'm like, "Oh, that's really good." She's like, "Yeah, I did it in Step-sember, whatever it's called. It's lots of steps in September." She's like, "I did like 30,000." She's like, "I just kept it up." Yeah. I'm like, "Yeah, because you did it for a month."
That's right.
Makes sense.
That's new habits. So if you can encourage those particular fundraisers, great.
Yeah.
You got them.
Okay, great. Well, why don't we close with tell us maybe just the businesses you work with, and then if anyone wants to get in touch, where they can.
Yeah, sure. The type of businesses that I work with, they are larger organizations, often sort of ASX listed, looking to grow, looking to transform who they are, get better and become market leaders. Where to find me? My website, leading-edge.global, and you can find me all over LinkedIn.
Yeah. Just like us.
That's right. That's right. Thank you.
Great. Thanks so much for coming.
Awesome.
Welcome back.
Okay. Hair and makeup.
You're never going to get anyone to do anything unless they want to.
And one of the biggest fears I have about being in business, you can take one stupid moment to ruin it all.
Something in me that never wanted to go back to being the fat kid.
I didn't want that. That fear was enough for me to commit to coming to Lockeroom.
Body fat content's gone from almost 30% to about 20%.
I started to enjoy the training.
There's always a trainer who can sort of take you from whatever level you're at.
I'm seeing changes. Resentment has turned to enjoying it.
In order to work really well, you've got to take care of yourself.
Big benefit is I don't have that slump in the afternoon.
And if you do prioritise your health, you will actually see the results in your work.
I'm a big believer, if you can't lead yourself, how are you going to lead other people? How are you going to lead the team if you can't even lead yourself?